Probably 25%, maybe overestimate. Then there are times when I'm working on grant proposals. It probably comes to 25% because what'll happen is every once in a while, when I do the proposal, I work almost all the time on the proposal for a period of time, and so it tends to be like that. When there's something like that due, I'm working a lot, or when we're trying to get a paper out or something, and so I'll spend a couple of days doing nothing but that, or several days doing nothing but that. So. Of that, in terms of proposal writing, I'd say half of it's proposal writing. Now, when I was not director, I would say I spent 60% of my time on research and probably only 20% on proposal writing. 20 of the 60, a third of that was on proposal writing. But now it's much more.
What is the success rate in your proposals?
Depends on the agency, but I would say I tend to be around 33, about a third of them come through.
Okay. And if you have the authority to change anything in the grant system in your school or bio design or ASU level, what would you like to change?
Well, I know what I think we need. Again, it's not really a complaint about the system. It's a complaint about the way we as professors organize ourselves. And so what we're not doing a very good job of is really looking broadly across the university when we think about major possibilities, developing very large scale, and I'm talking about the larger scale problems now. We all do fine on the little ones, but the big scale things, developing what the real issues are that we want to address, putting together a team, and then spending the time in Washington to, given that we've now, do a good job of putting it all together, maybe even make up brochures, etc. We need to be in Washington talking to the agencies, talking to the Hill, talking to people about getting that kind of work funded, and that we have people there, and they're very good. I work with them a lot. What we don't do on our end is prepare the materials that are needed to accomplish that most effectively. It tends to be pretty ad hoc. And that's something that I'm hoping that I can do more of now in the next year or two. It really needs an organizational capability, and you can't expect them to do it because they don't know the depth of the science. It has to be done by the scientists, and we need to organize among ourselves and get it done. So, again, I don't know what you could do from their point of view. I think it's us that has to be more active in getting these things together.
Like one PI told me that research grants or projects tend to be more narrow focused, and it's sometimes difficult to take more exciting and risk-taking research. What do you think about that kind of thing?
So the problem with that is as much the agencies and the panels in the agencies as anything else. So, but once again, who's on the panels? It's us.
Yeah.
So we are our own worst enemy. We get on the panels and suddenly we become very conservative, and we only want to fund things that are safe. But then when we're writing the proposals, we want to write things about things that are very exciting and risky. So it's partly our own thinking that has to change. We have to be more advocates on the panels, but also I think the agencies, different agencies do things better and worse. Check the time here. Are we for an hour or are we for
30 minutes?
30 minutes, okay. Just have to make sure I'm in the right place at the right time. So the panels. Oh, I'm okay till looks like till 3. I think that again, going to agencies and working with the agencies about areas that are exciting is really important, because then they set up calls around that, and the some of the agencies, NIH is very hard, but NSF, the panel managers, they actually have a fair amount of leeway, and if they see something exciting and they're well enough educated in the area to know about it, then they can fund it, even if it doesn't score as well as something else. The same is true in the Department of Defense. They're able to fund fairly risky things, but they have to know about them, and they have to have a way of learning about them to know what to do and what not to do. So that's really on us. We need to educate them. Tell them what's exciting and interesting, so that when they see all these proposals, they know, and when they're framing their calls, they know what to ask for.
So I'm wondering who is actually making the funding decisions, because you are serving in the review panels, but there are program officers.
So again, it depends on which agency you're talking about. So in the NIH, it's a pretty formal system. And it's really the review panels that make most of the decision. I mean, they give it a score, and it's relatively rare for things that don't score in the right range to get funded. NSF, as I said, the program manager, the panel's a recommendation. The program manager can change it, and good program managers at the NSF, they're not all that good, but good program managers will. They will go and they will take something from a young investigator that didn't score all that well, but they say, well, wow, this is an area that we should be funding. And they'll pull it out and fund it. And the NSF will support that. The same is true in the Department of Defense. DOE, once again, is a little bit more tied to the panels. It's a little more conservative in that regard. Department of Defense can be, like DARPA. I mean, they'll do crazy stuff. I mean, the program manager has almost complete control over what happens. So there, if you really need to work with the program manager over a period of time until they know why this is important and what can be done with it that will meet their mission goals. And that's another thing. I mean, DoD is a very mission-oriented agency, so you have to think about them in terms of what they're trying to accomplish, not in terms of just what you want to do. So it's really there's a lot of this is about making sure you are dealing with what they need rather than just what you want to do. So it takes a lot of time. You have to go there.
Like, it's kind of interesting because another PI was telling me a little bit opposite thing.
Okay.
Because he was saying that NIH is more like scientists govern the agency, but for NSF it's more like bureaucratic, and they don't understand.
So they're right. It is, and so the NSF, but the bureaucratic aspect of the NSF is the fact that it's driven by the program managers. Whereas NIH is very much driven by the scientists. So it's the people on the panels. What I'm saying is that the problem with panels is that they average. So if you write a proposal that's very exciting but risky, there's probably going to be somebody on that panel who will give it a low score. Because they'll say, it'll never work. It's too risky. And so when they average it all out, your score won't be so good. And you probably won't get funded. And so it's predictable. And so once you know that system well, you can work the system because you know, okay, I need to have all the preliminary results. I have to have everything set. I don't want to propose something that's too far out there. It should be exciting, but not too risky. I should already have done part of it before I go. Whereas with the NSF, if you have framed it right, sometimes you can get things funded that are more risky. It's just, that's so this other person's correct. The NIH is in a sense more predictable and more based on hardcore science. And then DARPA's completely out the window. It's really based on